Hello, my name is Henry Frampton and I am a professional composer for classical scoring and film. I was approached by Chris back in November to write some demo tunes for his wonderful instrument OCTA, which on getting the first beta copy of it, I was completely blown away when I first heard it. And I said to him, "Is this really the beta version?" Because the moment I placed my hands on the keys, I was writing straight away. And this particular piece that I'm going to play you, I'm going to walk you through it, is something which is probably the fifth or sixth piece that I wrote, because I wrote the first four extremely quickly, the short ones which you can hear on Chris's webpage, and this one, which isn't on the webpage, I've left specifically to do this video because I wanted to show you that this instrument is capable of being harnessed to use to write a complete score on its own. It's that vast in its sound palette, and the samples are as such that you're able to create so many different timbres of sound, including very high quality acoustics, because Chris's sampling is so good that the actual harmonics of all the sound really come together with effects and everything else. But you can play them completely dry and you get a wonderful sound. Anyway, enough of my flab. Here's the piece. Well, as you can hear, it's quite a filmic piece. I've got to mention the piece is called Flight to Sanctuary, and what I did was write three different parts and marry them together. They're all written spontaneously right the way through, the three parts, but that's how the title came to me. You've got to start with the birds as they're beginning to migrate, then they go through a wonderful journey in part two, and then at the end they finally reach their sanctuary, their lovely destination. Anyway, before I start going into the sounds, I just want to let you know that everything you're hearing is from OCTA. So just to prove that, I will just bung up the mixer page, and then you can see on Logic's page here There's no third-party plugins coming from Logic and any third-party plugins at all, and nothing on the 2-bus, as you can see. So with that out of the way, let's have a look at the sounds here. When I started, I came up with this. There was just this one sound got me at the beginning, and this patch is actually two. It's actually two sounds, because when I first got Octa, I was really playing around within the multi-timbral instrument. At the time, Chris hadn't sent me the patches for the single instruments. So here you've got a. I've changed the envelope on that to create that sound. I'm looking into the envelope page. Let's have a look at the envelope page. Right, envelope. Yeah, a slight sort of slowed attack for that sound, and then this one is the straight kalimba. So, and the great thing is that when you can split the notes here, so you can have different sounds at different parts of the keyboard, and that's what I'm doing here. I've set up it's all receiving on the same MIDI channel, but it's split over the keyboard, so I've created two sounds because I didn't need to use all the notes right across the keyboard for each sound. So there you have it. That's a nice little feature. And while we're here, this is a great feature where you can choose how you want the sound, where you want it to go with the pads and the automation. You can blend in and out with sounds so that you can have the attack of one sound and then a release of another. You can have the sound get triggered on the release of the keys. So there's great functionality there. And these things might be very simple functions, but they're great in practice and very quick to use. Anyway, that's that particular sound at the start. So moving on. This next sound here. This is probably the most complex sound that I wrote for this track, and it's made up of a pad which is shifting with the pad automation. Here's the pad automation. See, the way the pad automation works is you can record, if you go into settings, you can record how the pad's going to go, and then every time you hit the note, it'll re-trigger that until the note dies away, or you release the keys. Yeah, until you release the keys. And what I did here was, because the actual sound is made up of, only 3 sounds, I actually utilised the sections of this, because they comply A to H, obviously, with the 8 channels. And when you've got D here, which I'm not using, I'm only using C and F, and you've got D, G. So when I programmed the automation for this, I actually utilised the sections of the you can call it the spider's web if you like, the pad automation, to create that feeling of rhythm. So you're using the silence to create the rhythm as much as you are the sounds. That's where this pad automation is really great for me, from how I've found it's really useful to use in that sense. So that's that sound, and I feature that sound a bit later on as well, as you'll hear. I've got this fairground type sound, which is another one I made up, and it's basically, I think in terms of the effects, they've got a little distortion on there. That's just flanger and delay. Yeah, there's a bit of distortion on the insert effect. The insert effects affect the whole sound. So if you've got all of these sounds open, the insert effects will affect that. It's on a global basis. And these are the separate effects available for each. Now we've got some drums here. There's a lot of drums that Chris sampled. Well, again, they sound nice and clean, and you place them where you want in the stereo field. And then this, what I called a metal choir, is another sound I made up. It's an example of using metal type sound with a pad, using 4 different sounds of wine glass. I mean, the world's your oyster with this instrument. There's such a vast amount of sound you can make out of it. That's before you even get involved with the sequencing. Just check there wasn't any sequencing with that particular sound. No. This is the sequencer button, which switches them all on individually as you trigger, as you decide to program them to receive sequence information or not. Just a straight distorted piano. This is a good example of showing how, you know, there's no reverb on this, or very little. And what I find with the effects is that you have a great palette of effects, but if you use them judiciously, you're able to create that sense of depth in the sound, not just stereophonically left and right, but actually from front to back. And the effects really lend themselves well for that particular aspect of sonics. Here's the change where the birds are making their flight up into the air. There's a phaser type sting there. And let me sort of go into the transition. Another sound I have here, which is this is, I think, got a hang drum in it. Yeah, hang brushes and a pad called Big and Wide, which I've just larruped some distortion on, and then the effects for that sound. It's a pretty big sound. What we have is we've got some effects here, which are delay and a transient, and also I've got down here I've got some saturation, a bit of EQ and delay, ping pong delay, which is giving you that that spread, and on the brushes, the brushes don't actually have any effects on them at all. Just the first one has. Again, it's doing it with one and not the other. There is obviously the insert is happening over the whole thing, but on the initial, on the send effects, is only happening on one of them, and that gives the wide impression that I was talking about earlier. So then our birdies are flying away, and I bring in the strings here. There's a vibraphone down here. A bit of delay on there. Good example of the piano creating a sense of depth because it's got very dry reverb on it. Got this metal choir type thing again. Wonderful strings. These strings are from Chris's main orchestral library. They're so beautiful. They're just so easy to play and tactile. By playing around with the envelopes, which I did here, you can just hear how lush they are. So go into the envelopes. I've created a bigger, sort of slightly longer tail. And I created two of them to give a nice fat stereo image. And they're playing different parts, which helps also to give a nice. This one's playing a higher line. There's your low line and the high line, and spread them left and right. You get that very sort of filmic sound. And down here I've got some pixies. Again from the orchestral library. And a lovely guitar. I think it was an Ovation that he sampled. Actually, I don't think that is the Ovation. I think that's something called a monochord. Yeah, it's a monochord. Finger triggered. Ah, yes, here's the monochord here. It's playing that sort of. So it's sort of like a Baroque guitar, really, for me. But it's so tactile to play. It's just really tactile to play. I just love playing this particular instrument. What I've got going here actually is so a good month or 2 months ago I wrote this. I can't remember exactly what year. It's a chord mallet, so it's playing thirds, and that's another lovely little trick you can do. You can change the sound to play all these combinations of sounds, triads, fifths, thirds, etc., octaves. It's a really handy little thing, and it gives a lovely effect. Beautiful sound. So just at the end here. there it is, Flight to Sanctuary. And I can assure you, if I didn't have Octa, I wouldn't have written that piece. That's the beauty of this instrument. It inspires you to write. And I would say you should harness 3 basic things, whatever DAW you're working on. I'm a Logic user, so I can only talk from a Logic point of view. The audio capture feature, where you can play and you don't have to put it into record, and then you just hit a button and it instantly records. It's pre-recorded what you've actually put in. I'm not really describing it very well. I'm sure you can understand what I'm saying. The audio capture, and then also Apple R to repeat phrases, whether you're in the piano roll or whether you're actually repeating regions on the page. Those 2 things for me are the most important too when I'm composing generally, not just when using Octa. But Octa actually encourages you to work faster. So if you've got those tools to hand and you're used to using them, you'll find that you'll flow so quickly. And that's, as I said, when I wrote the tracks which are on the demo page on Chris's website, those ones were written so fast. Probably the fastest things I've ever written, because I was so inspired when I was playing them, and with the velocity layers of the sounds, the combination of that with the effects, it's really one of those instruments which is a real gem, and I just hope you get to understand it and enjoy it as much as I have and will in the future.